me, Lauren Hope, aka Lilo of Good Girl Chronicles. And today we're going to talk about part 2 of my homeless journey. First off, let me just introduce you to my Boo Bear, which you've already seen, but say hi, Boo Bear. Hi, friend. I have a pound cake and coffee right here. And yeah, do you smell some other treats? You good? No, Boo Bear. Come here. This is where an edit would be great. Anywho, my name is Lauren Hope. I'm a blogger, mental health advocate, motivational speaker, and yeah, just a bunch of stuff. And this is a new vlog series I've been doing on the channel, talking about real life issues, particularly my own, in hopes of sparking conversation about really hard things like mental illness, surviving suicide, suicide prevention, homelessness, family strife, everything. And so recently I've been talking about what contributed to my homeless journey and what I've learned about myself, about people, and actually getting help. And so the last vlog, I talked about what led to my homelessness and what, you know, looking back, I've had to take responsibility for that because I wasn't smart about my finances. That contributed to me being homeless alongside with family strife. I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched that video, who shared it, and I've had some really interesting conversations with people online about homelessness. Like, a lot more people will experience like a period of homelessness, and then there are people who are chronically homeless, who are like homeless for a year or more, or street homeless. And so to talk about actually being homeless, what that was like, and then we'll talk about what I've learned about being homeless and things like that. I'm actually filming this the exact next day after my last vlog because it's still really fresh in my mind, and yeah. To lick the condensation off of the thing. So, in the last vlog, I left off. After I sold my condo. Yeah, after I sold my condo in the fall of 2016, it was like September or October. This guy that knew me when I was on television, and he was a fan, invited me to live in his house, and he was just like, I really just want to help you get back on your feet. It was nothing like romantic or sexual, and I just was so naive. So this was like one of a few men / people that I trusted that I shouldn't have. But I had nowhere else to go. I had been kicked out of the office place where I was renting for my business, couldn't afford the rent, and they pretty much figured out that I was sleeping there. And then I sold my condo, and I wasn't at that point ready to sleep in my car. And so I moved in with him, and on the outside, like, he drove a nice car, his house looked so gorgeous, but like after like 1 or 2 nights there, I was like, this dude is like not doing well. Like, he barely had any food. And then, you know, as I got to know him, I was realizing he was having financial struggles. And I made the mistake of mentioning to him that I was going to get some money from a condo sale. And I think he thought that he was going to get some money. And so literally it was such a weird situation. Like, he was so much older than me. And he was like, there were some things he did that was inappropriate. And I had to say, listen, I really am just here because you offered to help me get back on my feet. Like, please don't like touch me or do anything like that. Like, I really just thought that this was a situation where I would help you. And when I get on my feet, I'm going to start paying you. And so I got a little bit of the condo money one day. And so like I went grocery shopping, and I felt really good about that. I even got like stuff for his dog. And then I wrote like a thank you card to him, just like, thank you so much for helping me get back on my feet. And I gave him $20 because he was like really hard up for gas at the time. And when I came home, he was like, what the F am I supposed to do with $20? I can wipe my ass with this. I mean, he lost it. It was very clear that he thought that I was going to give him a lot more money from the condo sale. I think he also thought that I was going to give him some So I got out of there really fast. And then with the money from the condo, I paid off a lot of I paid some credit card debt. And then I just started staying in hotels, which is really expensive. And I won't lie, here's another thing I have to take ownership from. I have to take ownership about. I should have used that money that I got from the condo and like used it smarter. I'm not gonna lie, I was hurting so bad about everything that happened with my family. I felt really broken. And so I bought some things I didn't need, makeup, you know, like I hooked a friend or two up and that kind of stuff. Plus, at that time, I just really didn't recognize that I was homeless. I was just like, oh, this is gonna all blow over. And I was just living in the moment at that time. I wasn't thinking about the future. And so I would say I went on like that from like October and most of November. I will say I am happy that I rolled some of the money into an IRA, and I took my 401k money from my jobs and put them into an IRA. Oh, it was just sitting next to me. So I did do that. So I didn't spend all of the money. I put some of it into an IRA. And so then around November, I just, well, let me just own the fact that, yeah, I just wasn't smart with the money. You know, I had some fun times with some friends. I experimented with weed for the first time. Never again. And so about November, the money started to run out. That's so crazy. The money just started to run out. And the hotels were getting harder and harder to get because it was the holidays and like they were more expensive. And so I started a GoFundMe page. Like I always had the GoFundMe page for my business, like for people to donate to my business in the beginning. And then for a while, I would live off the GoFundMe donation. Somebody would donate, and then I'd be able to stay in a hotel for 2 or 3 nights, or maybe one night I'd stay at a friend's house or something like that. And then, you know, interestingly enough, like the people who helped me most were strangers. They were not like my intimate friends or my high school friends or anything like that. Or people from the news business that I thought were friends. I mean, like I said in the last video, you will find out the nature of your friendships when you're homeless. There's one girl in news, and I thought we were friends. I went to her wedding. I was in her house. I've met her kid. I thought we were friends. And she was pregnant at the time, and I guess like really going through a rough pregnancy, which I did not know. And I said, listen, you know, I'm really going through a hard time. This is so uncomfortable for me to ask, but I would love to just come up to your house for the weekend and crash. I just want to shower. And she treated me like we had not had an intimate friendship. She was like, you should call the food bank or this or that, or go to a shelter. And I'm like, what are you? I don't know. I mean, it's hard because I feel like because when I was depressed, I cut so many people off, I lost this level of intimacy with them. I lost this closeness, and I lost the ability to ask for help that way. But I didn't realize that too much later. And so I was really hurt with the way that she reacted. And yeah, I remember calling one lady who was like, she was like, you ain't got it that hard out. You're not out there tricking yourself. Like, it's really not that bad. She's like, honestly, if I were you, I would do whatever I had to do. So, you know, basically this woman was telling me to like trick myself out for places to stay. And there are some women who do that when they're homeless. Hey, listen, I'm not judging. And so, late October, like I ran out of places to stay. I ran out of money. And then I was really, really scared about going to an actual shelter. And this is because what I've seen in movies and television about shelter living. I thought, this is the image I had about going to a shelter, that it was going to be this big ass room, and it was going to be dark and a bunch of cots, and it was going to be dangerous, and I was going to be clutching my things all night. And I was scared. I was really scared. And I also was like, no, I'm not that. That's not who I am, because I thought to go to a shelter was rock bottom for me. That was really to accept that I was homeless, and I was just in between places. And so then a friend of mine who I had known from high school, really one of those people that's just like on fire for Christ, like just an amazing woman. She had prayed about it and said, listen, you know, I'll let you sleep on the couch. We have a house. We really don't have a lot of space. And we're not supposed to have other tenants. Like literally myself and my husband are supposed to live here. And if anybody else lives here, like we could lose the rent that we afford here. So I was like, I was just not supposed to be there, but I was so grateful to have a place to stay. But at that time I had no car, I had no job. And they lived really far away from like friends who could help me, because like, you know, I had friends who were like picking me up places and dropping me off. I had friends who would like, you know, donate money or whatever, and they live far away from those people. So I kind of felt like a little isolated, and I probably moved in with them like a little before Thanksgiving. And I remember it was like the first holiday that I hadn't had contact with my family or had some place to stay. And because I was hiding, I couldn't go to their Thanksgiving celebration. So I remember just going on Facebook and looking at all of these happy families celebrating, cheesing together. And I was just like, God, what's wrong with me? Like you know, I'm here in this place all by myself. Like, what is wrong with me? And it made me so sad and so depressed. And I was already like kind of struggling with some depressed days. Like when I moved in with them, like I slept for days, and I was just really quiet and like just to myself, and it just hurt. It hurt so bad to like go on social media and see all these happy faces. And so I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna unplug. I am going to unplug. Like my spirit just needs some rest. It just needs some rest. And so for 30 days, I didn't go on Snapchat or Facebook or anything like that. And I was like, for 30 days, I'm going to do nothing but get up every day and walk to the best of my ability. I'm going to pray and I'm going to write. And I'm going to pray every day like God is going to give me the things that I need. I'm going to pray that God makes a way for me to get a car. I'm going to pray that God makes a way for me to get a job. I'm going to pray that God makes a way for me to get health insurance, because I really want to be in therapy right now and all of this stuff. And I actually, let me take that back. I was in therapy at the time, but it was hard because like my therapist was like really far from where I was staying. And I was like on a government or a state-based insurance called GAP, the Governor Access Program, which no longer exists. And so my medications and therapy were paid for through that. I will say that I am proud of myself that in my homelessness, I made my mental health a priority. I always made sure that I had my medication, and I always made sure I was at therapy. There maybe was like a handful of times when I couldn't get a ride or whatever that I didn't go, because I knew what that major depressive episode was like, and I didn't want to go back. And I knew that if I didn't take care of my mental health, I was not going to rebound out of homelessness. So, by the grace of God, I literally have no explanation for why this happened. You know, my stepdad reached out to me and said, we're going to sign over the title to the car. And that was it. So they signed over the title. So I was like, God, okay, I have a car, which in Hampton Roads in Virginia, like where I live, like our commuter system is not like big cities. Like it's hard to live here and work here without a car. So, early 2017, the couple that I was with, actually was like right after the snowstorm in 2017. They were like, listen, like we can't have you stay here anymore. We're really worried that our landlord's gonna find out. And so like, you know, after the snow clears, you have to go. And it was just like, oh, where am I supposed to go? And, so after I left their house for a couple of nights, I slept in the back seat of my Beetle in the Walmart parking lot. And that was so fucking scary, because like there were other people in the parking lot. A lot of people sleep in the Walmart parking lots, or just like parking lots in general. And like the nights that I did that, I did not sleep. I was just like, somebody can come get me or whatever. Like, what if the police come get me? Where will they take me? I was terrified. But what I would do is I would get in the back seat of my Beetle, and I would put all of these blankets on top of me and just like lay under the blankets. if you know a Volkswagen Beetle, there's not a lot of space back there. So I was scrunched. It was cold, and I couldn't run the heat in the car all night. And then at the time, I was on food stamps or EBT. And so I would get up in the morning and use the EBT to eat whatever I could eat in the Walmart. And then I would go and look for jobs during the day. And so I did that for a couple of days. And I had this appointment at this community service program in the city of Chesapeake because I had a traffic violation that I couldn't pay. It was like following too closely. And they had a community service program that I could work off my hours. And so I was like, I'm gonna go. So I went, and I'm filling out information and stuff like that. And then I don't know why I just broke down crying. I was just like, I'm so sorry. Like, I slept in the parking lot last night in Walmart. I don't know where I'm gonna go tonight, and I'm just tired. I haven't showered. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And the woman was just so compassionate and so sweet. She gave me a hygiene bag, and she told me about a shelter program called the Chesapeake Area Shelter Team. This is an emergency winter shelter, which a lot of cities around the country do this, I hear. In Hampton Roads, we have them in a lot of cities. So here's how it works. You go to a particular location, they pick you up at a bus. You have to present a license, a driver's license, or some form of identification. You pass a breathalyzer. Then they put you on the bus, you go to a church, and the church opens their doors, and you get dinner for the night. You sleep on a gym mat with a blanket in the sanctuary or in some part of the church. They wake you up at like 6 a.m. the next day, you get breakfast. If the church has a shower, you can take a shower, but again, we're talking like 5-10 minute showers. You're not in there singing Beyonce and stuff. You gotta be in and out. And then the bus takes you back to the pickup location, and you get back at 7:30. So it's an emergency winter shelter, and I know a lot of cities that do that, and she told me about that, and I was just like, no, I can't. If I go to the shelter, it's rock bottom. If I go to the shelter, it's rock bottom, and I was still terrified. And then I remember sleeping in the parking lot again, and or a couple of nights, and I called a friend, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna give you some money to get a hotel, and but the money didn't come. And every night that the money didn't come, I had to sleep in the parking lot. And I met this, really nice guy at a Walmart, and he let me sleep at his house one night. And I was just like, I just can't deal with this stability of like not knowing where I'm gonna stay. And so I relented and finally went to the winter shelter program. I remember going to the pickup location and just sitting in my car, seeing everybody lining up, and I was just like, this is real. This is the moment that I was like, you are homeless. There's no couch surfing. There's no in-between jobs. You are homeless. And I was like, I don't want to get on the bus. I don't want to get on the bus. What if somebody knows that I used to be on TV, or like, I'm going to be mortified. And I was just like, I know I have a really sweet looking face. I was very naive about so many things. I was just like, you just got to get on that effing bus. You have to get on the bus. So I went to the line, and they looked at my ID, and I said, hey, my name is Hope. I know what my ID says, but I want you to call me Hope. And they're like, okay, Hope. And, and I get on the bus, and I pick a seat by the window, and I remember just crying. And I said, God, how did it get to this? How did it get to this? 3 years ago, I was a reporter on the #1 station, and now today I am on a bus to go to a homeless shelter, and I'm not doing an expose. Crying. And I turned to the window like this because I didn't want anyone to see me cry. And everyone was loading onto the bus. And the person that was checking people in, he said, hey, no crying. We've got you here. And I was just like, thanks. But I just couldn't stop crying. And so we got to the church, and they check you in and get as much information about you as possible, because they, I now know that they run background checks on you, which, yeah, I get it. And then you go to they show you where you can place your stuff and where you're going to sleep for the night. and it was like in a like an activity room at the church, and they gave us a gym mat and a blanket. I don't know. So then we went to dinner, and it was like just so much amazing, awesome food. And everyone at the church was so nice and loving, and I didn't feel homeless. I just felt like a person, and I wasn't expecting that. And you know what I noticed about the shelter is that there were a lot of Black people there. There were a lot, and there were a lot of men, like more men than women. And there were a couple of families, and I just couldn't, I don't know. Those are the things that I remember from that night, like how many men were there. And I just like, I was just so, I just kept thinking like, how did this person get here? How did this person get here? How did this person get here? And that day I remember, like, even in all of the craziness that was going on, I always liked to look put together, because I felt like putting on my makeup, putting on a nice dress, it was a way to like do a little bit of self-care, but also not wear my sorrows and experiences. And so I felt like that some of the people were looking at me like, and some were like, oh, okay. And I was just like, the first night was hard for me to sleep. But then, I went back the second night, and I was just like, this is all right. Well, at least now I know every night I have a place to stay. And they gave us name tags, and girl, I put Hope every time. And after a while, they would just call me Hope like everybody would. I didn't want them to call me by my first name or my last name, because I didn't even want anyone to like it cross their mind that, oh my God, are you that girl from the news? So I was at the shelter from January of 2017 to late February of 2017. And at the time, I had this friend who I really had no business being friends with. That's the honest truth. In between all of this, during the day, when I wasn't looking for jobs, I was at the mall. I had no money, but people in the mall would give me money. Like people I met, this girl, and I would power walk. I would talk to people. Like that's what I did. And I met this girl at the mall, and she was 10 years younger than me in every way possible, like, and in age and in maturity. Like we were not on the same level. However, she was fun and messy, and with all of the stuff going on, the homelessness, the abandonment, I literally just didn't want to deal with those things, and she was an escape. We had some really fun times, but I was not taking care of my life. I was not doing anything to get out of homelessness, but it was fun. And so she had a couple of jobs, and she got a job at a cell phone company, and I met one of her coworkers, and her coworker had somehow figured out that I was living in a shelter. And I met her one day, and she's like, girl, I heard that you were living in a shelter. That just breaks my heart. You're the sweetest person. Like, my partner and I have a house. We live on military housing. We're not supposed to have anyone in our house, but we really just want to help you. And I was just like, I really don't know who she is, but like, she's my friend's friend. And the hardest thing about the shelter was that like, I had to go to this location all the time. And then, I hated not being able to shower, because not every church had a shower. And I thought, okay, I can be in one location. I can be in a shower. So I took her up on the chance. When I moved in with this young lesbian couple, they were also in their 20s. At that time I was 31, 32. And their house was a mess. It was so bad. It was a mess. And I had no money, and I think my EBT had gotten cut off, so I didn't even get food stamps. And so they had a pit bull at the time, but he was literally the sweetest dog. But a lot of the times I stayed in the house just looking for jobs, just looking for jobs. And in the beginning, it was so awesome. They were so sweet. And I kind of think that maybe one of them was sweet on me, because when I met her, she says, oh, wow, you're so beautiful. Like, my wife would love you. And I was just like, listen, I got no shade towards, I don't have no shade or judgment, but like, I'm not lesbian. So I I wanted my dog back, and I wanted the value of my property that my parents had thrown away. So I actually took my parents to court to get my dog back, which was not smart. I really thought that things with the lesbian couple were going to work out, or I was going to get back on my feet. So I went to court, and I've mentioned this in a previous vlog. My parents it was just so bad. So I got custody of my dog. And I brought the dog back to this place with this lesbian couple. Now, this dog is extremely spoiled and pampered and not very well trained. And so it was traumatic for him, I'm sure, to move into this brand new place with a pit bull, and the two of them did not get along. But also right around the same time, I got a job at a hotel at the ocean front. So I was making a little bit of money. But when my dog moved in, like, it just got hard because I was like taking care of their dog and like tending to things in the house, but I was scared about their dog attacking my dog. So I locked up their dog and I had to keep them separated. Well, their dog had severe separation anxiety and he started ripping up the carpet. And then the young girl that I should not have been friends with, I vented a lot of my frustrations to her about living in the house, about everything. I mean, because I thought we were friends. And she went behind my back and told them everything. So they're livid. Not only are they housing me in their house for free, their dog is experiencing separation anxiety because I brought another dog in the house. And now it looks like I'm talking shit about them. I totally understand why they're upset. And so we talked about it once, and then I guess my friend kept talking shit about me to them. So one day they had me come down and they're like, listen, like, you know, now that you have this job, you have to pay us to be here. And I was like, yeah, I totally get it. But clearly some things that my friend told them had fueled things because there was a lot of anger in that exchange. They were like, well, yeah, you know, how dare you talk about us behind our back, and we've done this and that for you, and you eat our cereal, and just all of this stuff. And I just remember crying, just like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. But like, again, I have a dog now and I have nowhere to go. And so I got out of the house for the night with this guy. I'm pretty sure wanted to sleep with me, but we were not doing that. And, while I was out of the house, they were just like, you know, you're not going to disrespect us in our house. Like, we want you out and all of this stuff. It was such a mess. And so I thought to myself, okay, I'm clearly going to be back on the street again, but I'm going to be with a dog. Like, I can't do this with a dog. And, it was, oh my God, that was such a hard 2 weeks. It was such a hard 2 weeks. A friend of mine in Texas gave me enough money to stay at a Motel 6 for a couple of days. And I literally just laid in that Motel 6 by myself and cried with my dog and just cried because I knew that I was going to have to give him back to my parents. I knew it. I was like, okay, maybe I could put him up in SPCA and he could be fostered. And I was just, you know what? I love this dog too much to put him through anything else. And so, so hard. I remember my last day at the hotel and I checked out and everything. I had like a suitcase and my dog and a red coat, and I wrapped the coat around my dog. And we were just sitting outside of the Motel 6, and I sat there and I literally had not struggled with suicidal ideation or suicidal thoughts for a long time, but in that minute I was just like there again. And thinking like I need to call 911 because I am feeling like desperate and sad and broken, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to find some place for my dog to go, and then I'm gonna end it all or whatever or something. That's what was going through my head at that moment. And then I was sitting there and I was crying, thinking these thoughts, like literally about to pull out the phone and call 911. And then this car drives up. It's a red car. And the lady says, hey, are you okay? I said, no, not really. she says, this is so strange. I never come on this part of town, but we came this way to go to the Chick-fil-A and I saw you and something told me that I needed to stop. And I said, yeah, I'm really having a bad day. And then I started crying and I told her everything that happened. And she said, I got you. And they were wearing red too. She said, I'm going to pay for you to stay in this hotel for a couple of nights. And she's like, I know you're brokenhearted about your family. I know that this hurts, but you're going to get through this. And just like, just let it go. Just let go this anger that you have with your family. And they paid for me to stay in the hotel for 3 nights. They gave me all of their food from Chick-fil-A. I have no idea why those women did that. That is, to me, honestly, that's nothing but God. That is nothing but God. Because I wanted to give up so bad that day. And so I stayed in the Motel 6 a couple more nights, and I said, you know what, the best thing I could do for my dog is to give him back to my parents. And I knew that once I did that I'd never be able to see him again. But I said, you know what, I need to take control of this situation. I need to stop expecting for people to save me or to help me. Like, I need to get my shit together. And so on the last day, I messaged a family friend and I had her come get the dog. I remember just weeping, handing over the dog. Because I felt, and she gave me some money that her church donated. And I think I stayed in the Motel 6 another night for there. And then I went back to the shelter and I just said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get out of being homeless. No more playing around, no more messing around with guys, no more doing stupid shit with this young ass girl. Like, this has to give. And, so I was going to the shelter every night and then going out to the ocean front. And the times I couldn't afford gas or my car broke down or whatever, which happened a lot, I would ride 3 buses to the ocean front and 3 buses back. And then after a while, people at my job found out I was homeless. And one time my boss had to drop me off at the homeless pickup. But I just had, I just accepted that that's what it was. Yeah. The whole time while all of this was going on, I was still blogging about being homeless. I was still going to talks and doing motivational speeches and stuff like that. And I was, the shelter program actually ends in the spring. So it was going to end April 12th, I think. Yeah. And I was sharing on Facebook. I said, hey friends, I'm in this shelter. Everybody knew that I was in the shelter. Like, people were still donating to the GoFundMe page, that kind of thing. Everybody knew. And so I put there, hey friends, can you guys donate some money to my GoFundMe page to hold me over while I stay in a hotel and I figure out what I'm going to do next, because the shelter program was ending. And I tried other things. The list for the Redevelopment Housing Authority was like months out, like I think maybe a year waiting list. It was not realistic that I was going to get help there. I tried a program that helped people who were chronically homeless because of a mental illness, and I was rejected from that. I just tried so many things, but I knew that putting my trust and faith in a stranger, that I couldn't do anymore. And then I got this amazing email from a Christian business owner who I had met one time. I was networking and I went to her business and we really hit it off, but I think I just met her one time and she'd been following my story, and she said, I don't know why, but God wants me to open my house to you. And I was just like, are you sure? Like, I was really scared because I had already had like the creepy old dude, the lesbian couple. I'd already had 3 situations like that didn't go well, or the rug got pulled from me. So but the fact that she told me that she had really prayed about it and that she felt like God had put it on her heart to do that, I said, okay, I feel better about this. And they lived in a really nice house in a beautiful part of town, like one of those parts of towns that I always wanted to live in. And I was just overcome by their kindness. room for me, and like they were like just like even little things like, you know, don't worry about paying for laundry detergent because, you know, that's one thing you don't have to worry about. Our food is your food. um family. And sometimes the family is not the ones that you're born with, it's the ones of your own making. And I would pay them like a couple of $100 a month because they knew that's all I could afford. And their house was so quiet and calm. And they would check on me, and I just hadn't felt cared for like that in so long. And I felt so broken and discarded. And so to have people love me that type of way was just it it and it also helped me to love myself again, if that makes sense, because I thought if these beautiful people love me enough to trust me to come to their house and be with their dog, there must be something amazing in me. Yeah. And meeting them was a big part of me getting out of homelessness. Like, just I had tried so many things and it wasn't working, and I'm just so grateful that they extended the help that they did. And I will end on this note because it's getting longer than I anticipated. If I had not been sharing my story on my blog, on these blogs, whatever, no one would have ever known what I was struggling with. No one would have donated to the GoFundMe. This business owner wouldn't have known to help me. And so storytelling and telling my story and being transparent literally saved me from homelessness. Like, it changed my life. And I just, for so long in my homelessness, felt like the broken down car on the side of the road. You know, like when you're driving and you see an accident and people are like, ooh, that looks bad, but they don't stop. People stopped and said, I not only see you, but I hear you, I feel you, and I care enough to help you. In the time that I was homeless, people donated over $4,000 to my GoFundMe page, which is unreal to me. Strangers, a lot of them strangers, a lot of them people who are on Facebook who heard my story. And there's just not enough thank yous for that. I don't have the words. And I know the way that I thank people is living a life of gratitude, of paying it forward and chasing my dreams bravely and boldly. That's how I pay it forward. Yeah. So I think on my next vlog, I'm going to talk about just kind of things I learned about being homeless through this experience. And yeah. But I'm thankful to be on the other side. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this vlog, if you've made it to this point. If you know anyone that this might touch or impact, please share it with them. If you want to learn more about me and Good Girl Chronicles, you can do so at goodgirlchronicles.com, on IG under Good Girl Chronicles LLC. I'm also on Facebook as Good Girl Chronicles LLC. I am all about speaking your truth, and I want to create stories and content that inspires people to tell their truth and to make some real tangible change in their life. You know, really, that's a big passion of mine. Thank you guys so much for following this beautiful, crazy thing that I call life. As we say here at Good Girl Chronicles, I love you. I love God more. See you next time.